Yo, Doobies and movies. WandaVision once more. Episode 8, entitled "Previously On." Now, yeah, Steve and Jovan are with me again. Steve's back this week, and to me, that was my favorite episode of WandaVision and my favorite MCU stuff in a long time. I mean, because it's been such a long time since it's been the MCU, but it's been my favorite thing since being in the cinema and watching it. So, Steve, you weren't here last week, so how about you tell us what you thought of the episode before I wax too lyrical?
Um, yeah, I thought it was banging. I thought that I'd agree, and that's my favorite episode of WandaVision. I think that was a sick episode. You got to see Agatha Harkness just really like properly out of that. She got revealed last week, and now she's properly out and about and showing Wanda mad things, and it was just a really good intro for her and properly see shit. And I thought just the throwback to Wanda's past in general, to all the other bits you see of it. I thought it was just really good. I can't really flaw it or really change anything. I thought it was perfect. But it's a good way to introduce it.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. I mean, we got so much insight into Wanda that we never got before, going from her childhood to being experimented on by Hydra to not meeting Vision, but actually the start of their affection. Jovan, what did you think of the episode?
Yeah, man, it was definitely was one of my favorite for sure. I love how Marvel has gone and turned comics into a psychological supernatural thriller. I love that way how they do it with crime thrillers. When you watch a series, how they start with the crime and it have you suspecting and making you come up with all these analogies of what might be going on, and then at the one episode it kind of like goes back and shows you everything that exactly happened. Yeah, this episode done that exactly like how a crime thriller would go.
Yeah, and it's
it have like this Marvel and supernatural aspect of it.
Yeah, no, and I agree, and it's the second time that, I mean, structurally the show's been brilliant, but it's the second time they've kind of done, I think, what they call a bottle episode, where they take you out of the main plot almost and focus on one special thing. You had one with Monica earlier in the series where we came out of the sitcom for a whole episode and we followed Monica and where she had been the whole time, and now we get this from Wanda, but it's not just WandaVision stuff that you get from it. Obviously, it's stuff from her whole life. So yeah, it was really amazing to me to know that she went through a lot of that stuff intellectually and just factually, knowing that she lost her parents and her brother and Vision, and obviously the Vision and the brother, we see their deaths, but we don't see how she felt right after them. By the time, you have to assume that scene with Vision is in between Ultron and Civil War.
Well, you remember when this scene would be 5 years after Infinity War. It would be when the blip happened. You remember she said she came back and his body was already gone.
No, sorry. Sorry, the scene where they kind of start to fall in love or whatever in the flashback.
Oh, right.
That scene would have been in between Ultron and Civil War.
Because definitely.
It would have been after Pietro died, and because they obviously, and it makes sense. Captain America was the main character in Civil War. It wasn't even Avengers Civil War. It's Captain America Civil War. Like, there wasn't time for Wanda to grieve. But it's nice to now see that in that time she was, and it was actually a big part of her getting close to Vision.
And that time frame, I guess you're right on there, because it also kind of had like a little funny Easter egg when he walked through the wall in her memory, and they said, and she told them, we talked about this, referring to the scene when Captain America and her were having the little one-on-one in her bedroom. You know?
Yeah, no, that's so on point. Actually, they add all these details like they did with Jimmy Woo's card trick, where you're rewarded for noticing these little details, and to me it feels like every even little nitpick you could have with Marvel, I feel like they do get to eventually and they do resolve. And I think one of them would have been, for me, a thing that was at the back of my mind, little voice always, like, why haven't we really seen Wanda grieve Pietro? Why haven't we really seen Wanda's development in between the films? And it's just because they just purely did not have time. They would have completely derailed, been like a C or D plot in a film that already had so much going on.
That would take up an entire 20, 25 minutes of a wasted time in the main plot of what's actually going on, to kind of slip in somebody's backstory in that movie, you know.
Exactly, but with
Kevin
TV,
Feige brilliantly done this. The way how he done it is fucking amazing, man. I just love it so much.
It's incredible because you feel this connectivity between all of the movies now, and Wanda, like now watching those movies again, and I'm sure Black Widow will have the same effect, but watching those movies again now, I'm going to look at Wanda so much differently. And I think even in Civil War and Infinity War, their relationship is going to connect with me more if I'm to rewatch those films. So like, I think amazing how they did that. But and I actually, both that flashback and the first one with when her parents get exploded.
Well, that was an introduction there. They basically like slapped you in your face with it, basically telling you that mutants are existent in the MCU, and that certain people have the X gene in their body, and it takes something to trigger it. Whereas for Monica Rambeau, it was going in and out the hex, and that triggered her X gene, and that's what making her become Photon. And for Wanda and Pietro, it was maybe because their father is Magneto and they have the X gene already in them so strong, that the Infinity Stone basically unlocked their mutant powers. The Mind Stone.
What is,
and because Wanda's power now is coming from that Mind Stone, and I'm not too sure where in that scene where they show that flashback where she saw that image of the Scarlet Witch coming out of the Mind Stone where she got her powers.
Yeah, that was the Hydra flashback.
Yeah, I think the Scarlet Witch is the nexus of the MCU, and the nexus is obviously a cosmic being, and it came from the Mind Stone, that power. Or I know definitely Agatha mentioned that she has chaos magic, and chaos magic came from a god called Chaton, which is the god of chaos that ruled Earth in like the ages of the gods or whatnot. And maybe they locked him away somehow in the form of the Infinity Stone, but because the Mind Stone, because I know for a fact, not in the MCU, but in the comics, the MCU, the Mind Stone was on Adam Warlock. Warlock was the one to have the Mind Stone on his head. And the Mind Stone could trap people in and out of it. But I'm not sure if in the MCU they said that the Mind Stone, all the Infinity Stones were created like on the Big Bang kind of thing. So I'm not too sure if it's going to go down that point, but it definitely has something to do with her powers being the Scarlet Witch, come from the power of that god Chaton, who is the god of chaos.
So, okay, let's try and break down everything you said bit by bit. So, with that flashback, okay, so both flashbacks. The fact that Wanda is revealed to have had powers before the Infinity Stone by her saving her and Pietro outside of the wreckage. I just want to add that I did find that scene and the Vision scene like incredibly emotional, like probably the most emotional scenes they had since Endgame or something. But so she's revealed to kind of have powers, and that's what Agatha
said that the probability of that bomb not going off was a very slim chance, and that her being under that stress at the time, she didn't even know she had the power, that she manipulated the probability of that bomb going off, and that's why
she was a probability hex. And that's what they're hinting at, that could be potentially the X gene and a potential introduction to mutation. But before we run too far from that flashback, I do want to add that it was incredibly both intelligent on a plot level and very moving how they, as a family, watch these American sitcoms and laugh together and learn English together,
Yeah.
watching these sitcoms, and they
And
actually
remember I was
died.
saying that before in one of the earlier episodes, maybe the reason why the Hex is going the way it was playing out with all the series, the era of the sitcoms was maybe because she grew up watching those.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they literally show you the briefcase with the Malcolm in the middle and Adam's family and
yeah,
all of
yeah.
that. You know, it was good.
It was amazing as a way of tying it all in together. And I actually also again added layers to Pietro as a character, seeing him as a kid together and them two as children added layers to their relationship once more. And I do think that WandaVision has just done an amazing job at making Pietro important again, even if he doesn't come back into things. He feels important, and his impact on the MCU now feels as important as it should be because their relationship is important in the comics.
For
Um,
real.
Poor. There's so much
There's so,
here. So,
and there's so much.
so staying on the list.
I love the Harry Potter vibe they got out of it as well in the beginning.
Yeah,
After
yeah, with all the
the
witches.
Salem scene with her like showing the manipulation spell and then the transmutation spell.
Yeah. No, it was sick to
And,
see a little bit of her origins, a little bit of what is it, the Salem Six.
yeah, the Salem Six were her children.
Yeah, we saw at least some like witches in Salem that were criticizing her for using dark magic, and it does seem like they are, and I probably was a little bit wrong that they are playing her as a villain, but at the same time, I was right about the fact that she wasn't trying to do anything bad. She was trying to wake her up. That's part I was right about because she even says it. Like I've been trying to do all of these things to try and
Yeah. To
and
go along with it and then
yeah,
try to wake you up slowly, not to like
burst your
completely
bubble.
slap you in the face, like, hey, wake
Yeah,
up, kind of easy into it because of the emotional stress you're going under, and because she actually fears for her life, even though she had control over her in the basement because of the circle spell that she casted. Remember, she was talking to her saying, she was basically asking her saying, well, you know you can't use your powers against another witch once she in her own protection
yeah, that was
circle,
very
and
cool.
basically telling her these are basic witchcraft skills that you're supposed to know.
Yeah,
How the fuck you created
yeah,
all of these spells and controlling all of these people like is nothing, like is nothing, where I took years for me to control, like master the spell of controlling a simple cricket or something like that. Now.
yeah. No, I thought that stuff was really good because one, it taps into what is this natural, unbeatable power that is Scarlet Witch, but it also goes into this idea of witchcraft, which is something we haven't really been introduced to in the MCU. We've been introduced to sorcery, but only
Yeah,
on a
which would
base
be
level. But
similar.
we haven't been
Sorcery,
introduced to witchcraft, and it was really cool to see all of that and kind of all of what Agatha was trying to do, and actually see for the first time really Catherine Hahn actually get to play the character she was cast as, rather than all these different kind of
oh yeah,
sitcom-esque
the sitcom.
interpretations.
Yeah, definitely,
Um,
definitely.
so yeah, so you also, again, trying to break down everything you brought up, there was the part where she looks into the Mind Stone and she sees what people and what we're all, I guess, assuming is some multidimensional nexus being of herself. But
Yeah,
it might not be.
it might not be. It might be just her getting like a future vision of what she gonna become or something like that. Maybe, who knows?
Maybe. What do you think,
But
Steve?
I don't know. I've just been listening. I
Yeah.
reckon this is like what it's like when I'm doing the Star Wars shit. Like, but yeah, I think it was. I agree with you with your previous point that it was sick to see her play Agatha Harkness rather than playing Agnes. It was actually good to see her come out and be a witch and actually also see sorcery. Sorry, not sorcery. Witchcraft in the MCU. I thought it was quite well done, and the only point really I had was about the thing you were talking about, where it was talking about Wanda and her like having the power to like do all this mad shit, and Agnes is kind of like, oh, I've done all this for years and I can only do this, that, and the other. I think the only point I had on that was that it kind of ties into Wanda's emotion a bit, because Wanda, when she did the hex, like, she was heartbroken because she built that house where, like, Vision was going to live.
Yeah.
And, you know, that little note that Vision left her as well, with like a map, and it had like a heart with
But I think definitely now that Hayward is not a Hydra agent, but I definitely think he's a Skrull, because of what he said to her when she walked in, in her memory of her walking into the facility. When she said all she wants to do is bury his body, and he said, "You sure that's all you want to do with it? You don't want to bring him back or something like that?"
Yeah.
And the idea in her head, and she was like, "How could I do that?" And I think him being if he really is a Skrull, being not a cosmic being, but being one of the cosmos, and knowing knowledge about different cosmic beings and stuff like that, he might be the one to kind of push her button to vilify her, while he takes Vision body and creates Cataract.
Sure. One question though: can Skrulls generate new human identities, or do they have to change into someone who's already a real person?
I thought it was.
I think they need to change. Yeah.
Okay, so that would mean there is a real Tyler somewhere, unless he's been killed or something.
Unless he's been killed or been captive somewhere, being held captive somewhere.
Okay, that's an interesting theory. I mean, whatever Marvel do at this point, I'm sold with it. I don't prescribe or subscribe to any theory with like any emotional loyalty, but I always quite like the idea of Tyler is just that bureaucratic government suit kind of prick. The way he manipulated that whole incident with Wanda saying she stole Vision when in fact she didn't at all.
Yeah.
And it makes sense with the cuts of the tape.
He basically set that up. He made fake footage of her stealing the body, which he vilifying her, and maybe it's to throw them off of his tracks of what he's doing with the real Vision. As being a Skrull, he must have some agenda needing that body to I don't know who is it gonna be. At first I thought it was gonna be Ultron. Then I saw something. It may be a representation of Vision's daughter in the comics. But then you see in the files that Darcy dug up, they were saying it was Project Cataract. So maybe it's a new character that the Marvel MCU creating.
Well, they
not too sure.
They're calling him Vision Quest. No, White Vision, which they've taken from Vision Quest. I read into it this morning, and it was a comic where Scarlet Witch comes and discovers him being put back together in a similar way, but I think it's Hank Pym or something. And I think he comes back as White Vision in some way. So there's different theories, and apparently Vision Quest was one of the comics they looked at for the show, as well as like quite a few others. But
it's actually this whole story, or practically nearly all of the MCU films are ground material come from one comic, and then they
sprinkle other ones in
and bring other storylines into it to make it its own unique story, which I love.
And it's like you can't do every story the exact same way, but it's more about the characters facing a lot of the same obstacles and people, and forming a lot of the same relationships, and honoring the comics in the right way, which they keep doing, and especially with WandaVision. And but going back to White Vision, there's a lot of people that think White Vision will end up being Ultron. I don't know what I think about that theory, or if White Vision. The only thing is, this whole idea of Vision finding consciousness has kind of been his arc throughout the films, and they've made quite clear that he is naturally quite a selfless person, the way that he's willing to sacrifice himself in Infinity War, the way that he's still, even though Captain America's like, stay back, he still comes and saves Cap's life and is like, we don't trade lives, Captain. You know, he's always doing the selfless thing. He's found. So this White Vision, if it's manipulated by Hayward and S.W.O.R.D. and it's there to hurt Wanda, is that no longer Vision at that point? Then another entity and consciousness.
He would no longer be Vision in body, because remember she touched his head and stuff, and she said, "I can't feel you anymore."
Yeah.
But that's because the Infinity Stone destroyed, and whatever remnant power of the Infinity Stone is within her body, I guess, which gave her the power. I'm not sure if some part of the stone's power was transferred into her, and it actually activated her X gene and somewhat gave her powers, and the Infinity Stone power still resides within her, making her even more powerful and able to even resurrect Vision, as we see even with the Mind Stone. Because remember when he came out of the hex in the last episode, he still had the Mind Stone on his head.
Yeah, that's what I was wanting to lead to, definitely, to talk about whether. So, okay, let's build up to a little bit. So Wanda, after the meeting with Hayward, she's devastated, and she sees a note, like Steve said, that they had planned to get a plot of land together. Vision's idea, it seemed, or turn a plot of land into a house to live together. This, again, probably would have been between Civil War and Infinity War, before they got attacked in Scotland. So she sees that note, which is left in this car. I did think, why is Wanda driving, to be honest, with her ability to fly? But let's not go into that too much. But so she's driving, and in the car she sees this letter, and yeah, she goes to the plot of land, and in her devastation, she and we also get to see Westview pre Hex, which was cool. It was just some normal Jersey town.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, in her devastation, she creates the Hex effectively. Yeah, but we see her form Vision, and we see her form what seemingly is the Mind Stone. So do you guys think that she has recreated the Mind Stone?
Yeah, she has, and it concludes that she definitely didn't steal Vision's body from this.
No, that's a whole creation of herself.
And he was making it up and vilifying her for some reason. I'm not sure what his agenda is, because I'm not sure if he actually pushed her, knowing if he's really a Skrull and knowing her powers or whatnot.
But
if he was the one that
assuming he's not a Skrull,
Huh?
then what's his agenda?
I'm not sure, because how would he know that she has the power to even resurrect Vision if she didn't even know?
Yeah, that is good. He does literally bring up, like, you can bring Vision to life as a power before she's even thought of doing it. Like,
You're right. Maybe Tyler really is someone, and they've thrown us off by casting. Someone a bit more unknown. It really is possible. But
maybe it's like maybe that's like Mephisto or Nightmare.
Yeah.
That's what we were doing with Pietro.
All these theories, Mephisto and Nightmare could still be.
I know.
Could still be a thing.
It was a bummer that Pietro turned out to be Pietro, and
that was so funny though.
That was so bummery, and I think because the way how I'm not too sure if the way I don't know, by cameoing him as Quicksilver, basically we all know him to be as Quicksilver and an X-Man who's a mutant. So it kind of easing us into the mutant scenario of the MCU where okay, well, his sister, and then they show us this scene now where they're in the basement and the bomb's now going off, and basically she had the power within her, but they just needed something to unlock it. Whereas in all the comics, all the superheroes, nearly all of them have had the X gene within them, and they all had suffered some kind of catastrophic episode that brought out the X gene within them. Whereas like in Deadpool, it took all of this fucking drama of suffering or whatnot for him to activate his X gene.
Yeah. I think there's definitely something to that, and it would be the most one on the aspect of Evan Peters. I do think that it was a dual thing, or more than a dual thing, but they were trying to play on recasting in sitcom tropes, as well as trying to make us more confused and guessing even more. But also, I do think it's to slowly open a door to us understanding that the X-Men are going to be introduced, and a little tease, and also to understand that just a reminder they have the rights. I do think they do. That a part of it is even just to be like, look, we've got the rights now. They are coming, and I think that Yeah, I think that Evan Peters' character still has something to say, Pietro. I think they're still going to be in the final episode. He's still going to have some role to play because
Well,
obviously he
I don't
captured
know. I don't
Monica.
know. I'm not sure. I don't know if he actually gonna play any other role again in it, because in the time frame that they were in I think it was the 80s or something, or 70s, 80s, that he was in that episode.
Yeah, he was in the
It kind of,
90s.
and they cast him because he was the one from in the X-Men universe.
Yeah.
He was the one from the 80s, and I'm not sure if they're actually gonna use some of the Fox universe material in the MCU if they
No,
actually bring them in it.
no,
Or
I don't think they are. But what I think that whatever Pietro is, I do think that he will still show up in this final episode and still have something to do. I never from the moment Evan Peters showed up, I never thought that it was a crossover. I thought it was
yeah,
something. I thought it was just something that it ended up
just
becoming.
something,
Yeah.
he was up.
But another thing was, I as much as I loved it, it's not even really a criticism as much as like it could have been sick. But in the Hydra flashback, it would have been a nice opportunity to bring back Von Strucker, who was really like criminally underused and killed off after like 5 minutes. And I think it would have been.
I thought I was a younger version of him they used there for a
Oh,
minute.
was it a younger Strucker?
I think it was a younger Strucker there. No, I believe so. I'm not too sure,
I think
Okay.
but I believe that's what I got from it.
Okay. Well.
I'm pretty sure that's right. I'm pretty sure Shocker was just there, but slightly younger.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
if so, then great. I'm totally behind that being Strucker and Strucker being in there, so that's good. It wasn't even a thing.
I wish they had shown a little bit of Quicksilver as well in that flashback.
Me
though,
too.
getting
Me
his
too.
power.
But I also think that there's still more we're gonna get with everything. And I think that Wanda and her journey isn't gonna end next week. Well, all that's gonna end next week is WandaVision. Like this, like if you see it as comics, like this
definitely
issue is
tying up
over.
into
But
one of the movies.
yeah, Doctor Strange 2, and I think possibly Spider-Man 3. I think they called it No Way Home, which means he's getting lost in the multiverse 100%, in my opinion. And Doctor Strange is in it. I think that there's
Ghost
little
Rider, Nightmare.
There's little nods. Yeah, this Spider-Man has always been this with the guy that even though he has a really like probably the most defined universe of his own, he always plays in every playground. He always goes into this world and that world and that one.
Yeah, yes, you're right.
And I think
He's
that it
the
would
only
make
one
sense.
that ties and who crosses over the most in all the comics.
And I do think that if you're going then from a character perspective and stuff, I do think that this idea of kind of the Avengers being done and a lack of leadership is something that will continue to be explored. And I do think that Doctor Strange and Spider-Man are probably the two with Doctor Strange maybe more on the leadership side of things and the awareness of the universe and the multiverse. But Spider-Man Spider-Man's such a good person. Spider-Man is like, he's someone that would be good for Wanda to maybe be around. So I think that if there's any way of this team that we love called the Avengers reforming, I do think that people like Doctor Strange and Spider-Man are very important to that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Spider-Man was an Avenger for a time and for a long time in the comics.
Yeah,
he was only for like a couple of minutes in the MCU.
I do think I would also like to see, I mean, I know we're jumping ahead now, but Doctor Strange and Iron Man's relationship in those two films is really good. And the way that Doctor Strange feels his sacrifice at the end, I would really actually quite like to have Doctor Strange taking on some of that burden and like knowing that he was almost in a weird way responsible for Iron Man dying on some level of he kind of pushed him to make that sacrifice by kind of hinting to him that that was the only way it was going to go. So I would like on a character level for them to explore that in Doctor Strange. But I mean, now we if we're going to go down this road, we'll talk forever. So is there anything else in the episode we didn't talk about?
I heard a theory that Doctor Strange might pop up in the last episode, and that the rabbit that Agatha has is somehow it might be Doctor Strange that she probably come across before, trying to reach Wanda before her, and she transmutates him into, cast a spell on him and turn him into a bunny and have him there as a trap.
Maybe, man. I think the bunny could be someone. I really do think the bunny could be someone.
There's a series about him being one of her sons as well.
So at the end, before we round up, we finally get the name drop that we've been waiting for. She gets called by Agatha, like something about her using chaos magic. That means you're the Scarlet Witch.
This is where I was telling you before about how when she said that, and she said you're supposed to be a myth.
Yeah.
Agatha, dealing in the dark arts herself, know about this dark magic, which is called chaos magic, and chaos magic to her is a myth. So basically, she is very terrified of her, but knows how to kind of like, because she don't know what she's doing. Wanda don't know what she's doing. She could kind of like control her a bit, but not to a certain extent. And this is where the myth comes into place, where that power of the chaos magic comes from that god Chaton, which is the god of chaos.
So I think that's definitely stuff they're going to go into.
And that when in the comics, when Wanda was a child, somehow that god put a mark of his spirit onto her. So like he marked her with some of her power.
Well,
you know, who knows if they're gonna do that in this, but
I really think they can, and it's likely that, I mean, the episode was a decent bit longer this week, and I think it will be even longer next week. I think we'll get a big finale. There's a lot they still need to round up and set us up for Doctor Strange 2, maybe Spider-Man 3 in some ways. I hope they go into all this chaos magic stuff. If not now, later. I think what they're doing now, Marvel, is they're trying to open doors and as many doors into other corners of the universe that they haven't gone into yet, but they're still taking their time and they're still not rushing it. And it's just...
Oh yeah, man, they have so many doors to open in this whole MCU, because especially with the supernatural side of it and the witches and all that, because even Doctor Doom's mother was part of a covenant herself. She was a witch.
That's sick.
Yeah, you know? They could even go into stories like that. You know? It's such a massive universe.
You know what? I actually want to say that when the first Avengers came out, I do remember being in disbelief that even that could have happened.
Was actually going to make it on silver screen.
Yeah, and then, okay, flash forward, Civil War, wow, Infinity War,
Boom.
Endgame, and you're like, okay, I've seen it all, and then fucking now, Endgame was the start.
Endgame was just the tip of the iceberg.
Now that's happened is the sandbox is completely open, and people are going to be interacting with each other and contributing to each other as more than ever before, and the character development for every single character will feel like the comics, where every single one of them is three-dimensional. And even people like Darcy, like it's incredible what they're doing. It's actually beyond anything I could have ever expected. So
for me too, as a kid growing up and reading comics and watching all little animated series and stuff, seeing something like we got the X-Men and whatnot, but we got a little taste of it. We didn't actually get a true raw what the comics really is until the MCU happened. And I never in my lifetime would I ever thought I would be seeing what's going on, and it's so exciting.
It's incredibly exciting, especially in very boring times. So it keeps the inner child alive. So before we wrap up, I guess let's say a rating out of 10 and our moment of the episodes. Steve?
10, I'd probably give it a 10. I loved it. I loved every second of it. I thought it was sick. I think my favourite part would be probably a fight between Agatha Harkness at the end, like with powers around the two kids' throats.
Oh yeah.
Calling Scarlet Witch. I thought that was just really sick in general. And then it also be a fight against that, and when Wanda's like really emotional, crying about Vision, and then like her powers go mental, and she creates the house, creates fucking Vision, the stone, then the hex, and it turns the whole of Westview into the old Westview, which is just so good. So yeah, 10 out of 10.
Jovan?
Yeah, man, I agree. Fucking 10 out of 10 is just blow mind how it all just kind of turn around and you get to see the flashback, and the whole feel of the episode was just like, yeah, as I said, like a supernatural thriller, and I love the Harry Potter little vibes you get out of it, which I was actually started watching the series the whole entire just this week with Adele.
No, yeah.
So yeah, I got that little nice little vibe from it with the spell of her controlling the little wasp or whatnot she had in her hand, and it,
Yeah.
the words that she said as well was almost similar to spells that you got in Harry Potter, but and all the little different this that whole little scene underground there where she was explaining everything about her origin or what she could do, and her like explaining how many years it took her to develop her power, and she's in disbelief of what she's doing without her even knowing she's doing it.
Mm.
So yeah, it's all coming together so well, man. Yeah, well excited for the season finale, and yeah, 10 out of 10.
I agree. It's a 10 out of 10 for me as well. I'm tied between the flashback with the family when they're watching sitcoms, how it ties it all together, and the brutality of what happened to them as kids. You really feel it, and then tied with the scene of her and Vision, where it shows them first kind of starting to fall in love. Just because I've really started to like Paul Bettany as an actor during this show, and his range, and he comes back in just as the old Vision that we know and love from the old films, and seeing him earlier in his development when he's still learning that stuff, and you realize how good Paul Bettany is at playing the Vision. He's just so good, and how real their love genuinely feels, despite how he's a robot and all of that. So they've done really, really well, and how they filled in the gaps of Wanda's arcs in the other films. It's just all amazing, and I can't wait to keep watching more. But keep smoking doobies, keep watching movies. We'll be back with more. I've been I've been lazy recently, but more reviews and doobies coming. Safe.
Yeah, bro.